Hello, how are you? It is a Wednesday. How are you doing today? Let's. How are you? How are you? Come on in. Hello. How are you? How are you doing? Happy Wednesday. Hey. All right. I'm going to get started. Hey. So, I want to talk today about the why. Knowing your why. And everybody's why is going to be different, just like anything else in life, right? And I recall one time when I first moved down here, maybe not first, but around about the time I had moved down here and I was trying to connect with some people, and it was some person that had an event. And so I was trying to help them get their event going and everything. And they made a comment to someone else that, Monique always does, she'll do stuff, but it's like she does it one with an ulterior motive. And my feelings were like crushed, like me, like I'll give a person a shirt off my back and da 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 da. And then I'm trying to look at things with, my spiritual glasses on, right? So then when I did that, I was like, you know what? There's some truth to that. Not that I have an ulterior motive, but I do things with the expectation of getting something in return. Not necessarily from that person, but I do things expecting God to be God, right? So if I, even within like my giving, if I give, it's already because God has already been amazing to me, but it's also knowing that, he said, test me. And he talks about, you know, give me first and I'll take care of you. And so that's an expectation that I had. So I had to say, man, you know what? I do some things with an expectation. And that's my why. My why is because I want to hear, well done, thy good and faithful servant, in the end. So that's why I'm not knucking and bucking with people when they do things, or, you know, so I thought about that from the perspective, again, knowing my why. And so I thought about Hebrews chapter 2, verse 12. And it says, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despite the shame, and has sat at the right hand of the throne of God. And so that's why I do it. I do it because God is the author, Christ is the author and finisher of my faith. And so I'm doing this, I'm enduring this fight, I'm going through all these things because, again, I want to hear well done. So that's my why. And everybody's why is going to be different. But my why is I want to hear well done. So, but then I said, the why has to be bigger than me as well, right? So in the Old Testament, over in Exodus 20, verses 5 and 6, it says, he shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I am the Lord your God, and I am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sins of the parents to the third and fourth generation, and those who shame me, but showing love to 1,000 generations for those who love me and keep my commandment. Now I know y'all gonna say, oh, Monique, that's Old Testament, and we're gonna all stand before the judgment for ourselves. And that's 2 Corinthians 5:10 says, for we shall all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each of us may receive what is due us for the things we've done while in the body, whether good or bad. You're right. Absolutely right. There's no contradiction. The word doesn't contradict itself. But here's a caveat. Decisions that I make directly affect my daughter. They directly affect everyone around me. I remember my friend that's online, she was saying that her marriage is bigger than her. She was like, so if me and my husband were to get divorced, it's not only going to affect the two of us, it's going to affect our children, it's going to affect our church members, it's going to affect people who not even in the church that's looking at us saying, oh, okay, well, if they can make it, I can make it. Then it becomes, well, dang, they didn't make it. So if they couldn't make it, I can't make it either. So our actions have a direct effect on other people. So that's got to be our why too. Our why got to be bigger than us. I also know that with raising my daughter, decisions that I make will affect her. Like I said, if I choose not to pay my mortgage this month, that's going to have a direct effect on her. If I choose to do whatever, make any kind of decisions. And so that's also being that I have to die to this flesh as well. It's also saying, hey, these were things of my past. These were things that I endured, and they're going to die with me. I don't want my daughter to suffer the same things that I had to suffer because of whatever decisions were made for me when I was a child. So I'm going to make different decisions for her. I'm going to try my hardest not to, because I don't want her story to be, well, my mom didn't do this and my mom didn't do that. So she gonna have a story, and I'm not gonna always be the shero in the story, right? But I want to make sure that her version of the story is positive, because it directly affects even how she will be a parent to her children. Like I have to, I came from a very strong disciplinary home. And so I have to tell my daughter, I have to fight against what I know to make sure you don't have the same story as I had. So again, that's something that I'm choosing to die with me. With me, this abuse is going to stop. With me, I'm not going to do the things that I know. Those are things that I know. It's easy for it to come out because it's what was poured into me. It's kind of like what I was saying in on the live yesterday on the radio yesterday. I hope you guys were able to listen. And I talked about how I started eating the apple of other people's opinions. And so I had to pull out them roots within myself so that I didn't turn around and plant those seeds in my daughter. So my why has to be bigger than me. The next thing is my why can't be about competition. That doesn't mean that you can't look at your friends. Like my girlfriend, my friend circle, my crew, we tough. We're movers and shakers. We are, breaking glass ceilings and everything. But at the same time, no matter what these two ladies doing on the side of me, behind me, in front of me, we're not in competition. We encourage each other to do better. I went out to lunch with a sister today that said she finished everything for school. She just now has to graduate with her PhD. And I said, sis, I just need you to encourage me to go back to school. I said, I'm not getting a PhD, but just encourage me so that I can finish my master's. I started my master's and I didn't finish it. And so she was like, you got this, come on, I got you. I'm going to help you get across that finish line, and I'm not doing it because it's competition. I'm doing it because I know it's something that I need to do because, again, my why is make sure my daughter has a good life. And it's something that I started. I want to finish what I started because I also want to show my daughter age doesn't limit you from getting your whatever your educational goals are. And then the next thing I want to say is your why can't just be about you having a great life. You know, some of us are doing things just because we want to have a great life. Like I'm gonna go back to school, or I'm gonna marry, or I'm gonna do this. No, you gotta be willing to do some things just for the cause of Christ, just because it's good for the next person next to you. You know, and it can be something something as small as pulling somebody's trash can out. You know, we gotta be willing to share the gospel. We can't just hold the gospel to ourselves. Go out there and talk to a dying world. There's so many broken-hearted people. When I was at lunch today with the sister, I told her, I said, I wrestle with the Holy Spirit about sharing certain parts of my story. And I started telling her some things, and she just looked at me and I said, I know. I said, it's grace and mercy. I don't have a needle in my arm. If I just started really telling people what I have dealt with. And she was like, the fact that you still talk about a merciful God. I said, listen, I know it's him. It don't have nothing to do with me. It is all him. You know, I know what it's like to have guns put to your head. I got a story, but I have to be careful. Well, I don't have to be careful. There's a part of me that's a little anxious about sharing it with the world because there is a judgment. But then when I think about when Christ went to that cross, when I read in Hebrews 2:12-2, and it says he endured the cross despite the shame. If I want to be Christ-like, I got to be willing to endure my cross despite the shame. I got to know my why. So I just wanted to leave you guys with that today. Know your why and make sure your why is bigger than you. Because even if you don't have children, there's somebody, it don't care if it's your coworker, it could whoever. It's somebody that your neighbor, somebody is watching you and they just may decide to follow Christ because of you. So just know your why and know why you are enduring this fight and who all could be pulling on your coattails and you're leading them to Christ without even know you're leading them to Christ. You may one day hear them say, I became a Christian because of you. I'm going to leave y'all with this one story. A sister at our church back home, my mother's a nurse and she would always wear her RN necklace. And the sister said, I became a nurse because of you. She said, Joe, that necklace was always beaming. And I said, if Sister Cobb can do it, I can do it. And it's like 3 sisters at the church that had told her, we became nurses because of you. She never knew that these weren't women, that young ladies that even talked to her. But they were looking at her and they saw this is a single mom who, you know, my mom didn't start out as a single mom. My father died and she decided, you know, she had to decide to keep moving forward. She couldn't die. She couldn't stop. She had to know her why. And I want to point that out too. I had to give my mother, that's another why. I had to give grace. Grace is a major thing because I don't know what it would be like to be a wife one day and a couple hours later be a widow. And then you got 2 kids you got to raise. And they're dealing with their own issues of losing their dad. So when I tell you guys these stories, it's not that I'm bashing anybody. I'm just being honest. And I'm telling you that as stank as I am, as stank as I may smell, I serve a God that can wash me pure as snow, and he can do the same for you. So that's why I do share these stories. That's part of my why, is so that people, because sometimes people think, oh, you're so holy, you're so good, and I'm too raggedy to be a follower of Christ. No, dear. I'm just I'm saved by grace. And we have to be willing to extend some grace to some folks because it's somebody that's extending it to us and we may not even realize it. But that's it, y'all. I thank you for joining me and I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday, Lord's will. See y'all later. Bye. Love you. Bye-bye.